Some of them are watching from places where our message of courage and freedom and truth is not welcome. Places like China and Cuba. People here have risked their lives and their reputations to come here today. There are members here in this crowd from Pakistan and Qatar. We have members of the EU Parliament. There are other seats of government represented here as well. So whether you have joined us in person or electronically, whether you are sitting in comfort of freedom or under the darkness of repression, whether you are in a home or a hut or a house of worship, please know that we thank you. We thank you for coming, and we recognize your privilege. You are taking great risks because you know the stakes are so high. What happens here does not only affect the future of Israel. What happens here from this moment forward affects the future of the entire globe. Over the past few days alone, I have met with more than 20 parliamentarians from all over Europe and Africa and the Middle East. I keep hearing the same thing. The world is waiting. The world is expecting a movement. The world is waiting for someone to lead. Well, we will lead. We will be led by the brave. There are leaders rising up now, and they are brave. Today you will hear the stories and the words of brave people. We will begin with a brave man in an extraordinary letter, a letter of support from a Muslim sheikh, Hebron, Sheikh Jabari. He leads a community of tens of thousands of Muslims here in Israel, and his words are truly remarkable. He did not join us in person because of the risk to his life, the risk to his family's life. So many people have come forward to stand today. Some at the very peril of their own lives. In fact, to read the letter that you are about to hear, we had several people back out at the last moment because they were rightfully afraid for their life, for the life of their family. The Middle East is a very dangerous place. This morning I found a man that was willing to read this letter. He is a friend. He is Jewish. His name is David Broad. He is the head of John Hagee's Christians United for Israel. John Hagee has become a good friend of mine in the recent months as well. John Hagee has been a man who has been shot at multiple times, has had neo-Nazis march on him, his windows in his car and his house broken out because he refuses to sit down. David is also a man who has been relentlessly criticized, even among his own people in his Jewish community, for his belief and his conviction and his willingness to stand with others. Yet he is standing strong nonetheless. Here to read this amazing letter is David Broad.
May God bless you, Glenn Beck, for gathering us here in this holy city today at this critical hour. Thank you so much. This is the letter from Sheikh Abu Khadr al-Jabri of Hebron. The Sheikh says as follows: "You are to be congratulated for arranging a rally such as this, consisting of Jews and Christians together, standing for Israel. Courage is a great virtue, praised by the Quran, praised by the Jewish Bible, and praised by the Christian Testament. Courage is different from physical strength, which is external strength, the strength of physical power, the strength of military might. Courage is internal strength, the fortitude of the spirit, the deep love of the heart. Courage prays to turn enemy into friend and to walk with him arm in peace. I, Sheikh Jabari, greet you this evening with the courage of a loving friend. So does my Quran ask me to look upon you, and so does my heart and soul feel connected to you. Jew and Muslim are both children of Abraham, and we are all children of one God. May we truly walk arm in peace together and bring our united God, the God of the universe, to the entire world in peace.
School of Law, Matt Staver.
Today, we stand together here on this holy ground to recognize the power of individuals to lift us up and to forge peace. Peace in the Middle East. It's one of the greatest challenges that we face in the world today. Summits are called, diplomats meet, and treaties are signed. But in the end, true peace, real peace, rests in the simple actions of a few individuals, motivated by faith in God and in each other, by hope that things can be better, and by charity because lasting change comes only when we are willing to do something selflessly. Faith, hope, and charity are the essential elements of restoring courage. We now recognize extraordinary individuals who are already living their lives and restoring courage in all of us with faith, hope, and charity. And here, in Israel, they are setting shining examples of how we will achieve lasting peace. First, the award for faith. When faith is tested, there are only two possible alternatives: to waver and lose heart, or to remain steadfast. Those whom we honor today remained steadfast in faith in God that He has a plan, no matter the difficult situation. And there are very few, if any, more trying circumstances than the one faced by this family.
Nestled in the Samaritan Mountain region is the town of Itamar. To the residents of this mostly Orthodox Jewish community, Itamar is a sacred land. The settlement is in the heart of the region once known as the Kingdom of Israel. The State of Israel established the community of Itamar in 1984. Udi and Ruth Vogel had the right to live there, but it was their obligation to God that called them to this place. Their dream was to live, worship, and raise their family in this biblical region. The Vogels were seen as the kind of people whose generosity and love might help end the cycle of violence in the region. A fence separates Itamar from the dangers that often surround the village. But on March 11th, no fence was going to stop the evil that was determined to enter. At 10:30 p.m., the Vogel family became targets of a murderous attack by Palestinian terrorists. 11-year-old Yoav would be the first victim. As he sat in his bed, reading, he heard the killers, two teenagers. They assured him not to be afraid. Then they mercilessly slashed his throat and stabbed his small chest. Then 4-year-old Elad was brutally stabbed as he lay in his bed. Udi and Ruth rushed to defend their family, but their struggle was overwhelmed by the rage of the terrorists. They were both repeatedly stabbed, then shot, before the murderers left the bloody 3-month-old Hadass. Then, in a heinous moment, they returned and slaughtered the baby. As 12-year-old Tamar Vogel returned home that evening, she discovered her 2-year-old brother lying next to her lifeless parents, crying and shaking them, as her 8-year-old brother remained hidden in his room, fearing the attack was not over. Tamar and her 2 little brothers are all that remained of the Vogel family. But in this young girl, we find a message for all the world to hear. When she declared, "I will be strong and succeed in overcoming this. I understand the task that stands before me, and I will be a mother to my brothers." Faith. Faith led the Vogel family world with the message that nothing will silence the courageous message of faith.
Restoring courage for faith on behalf of the Vogel family and the entire community of Itamar is the town's mayor, Rabbi Moshe, and his wife Leah Goldsmith. That in the darkest of hours, it has the power to burst through and light the way. In the midst of tragedy, this extraordinary restaurant gave the community and an entire nation extraordinary hope.
October 4th, 2003. It was just like any other busy Saturday at the popular local restaurant, Maxime. All the regulars were there, along with many other patrons, just enjoying the renowned food from the Haifa mainstay. But Maxime's real appeal serves a much higher calling than merely great food. Co-owned by an Arab and a Jew, it's also frequented by both. Maxime's has become a symbol of peaceful coexistence. But this show of unity also meant Maxime was something else, a target. On that day, nearly 8 years ago, an unassuming 28-year-old woman slipped past security unnoticed and made her way to the center of the restaurant. No one suspected that strapped tightly to her body, concealed underneath her clothing, was an explosive suicide belt. She detonated it, killing 21 Arabs, Jews, 4 children, and a 2-month-old baby. 51 others were injured. This horrific tragedy could have easily spelled the end of Arab and Jewish harmony at Maxime. But right after the attack, both owners were determined not to let that happen. They posted a sign at the site of the decimated restaurant. It read, "We will not allow coexistence to be destroyed." A mere 2 months later, determined not to let a good thing die, Maxime, with makeshift memorials still around the area, reopened their doors. What happened next was nothing short of a beautiful miracle. The community flocked to the restaurant. It proved this was much more than just peaceful coexistence. They were one, and still are today. It takes courage to stand as one. It takes courage to love thy neighbor. Courage in hope.
Here to accept the Restoring Courage Award for Hope on behalf of the Maxime Restaurant, Orly Toyota-Nier and Olivia Patron. Sometimes it is just a simple act of kindness, compassion, love, indeed charity, can make all the difference in changing the world.
For charity to thrive, individuals must reach out and touch those in need. Institutions don't change hearts, individuals do. Rami Levy understands this perhaps better than anybody in Israel. He grew up in a one-room tin shack in Jerusalem. But through hard work and determination, he turned a 400-square-foot shop into Israel's fastest-growing supermarket chain. Today, there are 21 locations employing more than 3,000 people. However, creating jobs and building new stores isn't what sets Rami apart from other successful businessmen. His store at the Gush Etzion Junction is a model of coexistence. Arabs and Jews shopping and working together. But beyond that, Rami has established a focus on providing charity in the form of discounted and even free food for low-income individuals of all faiths. His actions reveal his heart. During Ramadan, Rami makes sure that Muslim shoppers have the elements to observe this period of obedience, even if that means giving it to them for free, sometimes in an unmarked bag, hoping his customers avoid being harassed for shopping in a store owned by a Jew. His generous acts have not always been embraced. He has been threatened by numerous radical organizations, including Hamas, who find this shining example of peaceful coexistence threatening. No government agreement, no UN charter, no document is more powerful than the courage of one man simply opening a store to everyone. Levy stores continue to perform well, despite strong opposition and even boycotts. Rami Levy remains on the path of good. It takes courage to do what is right, courage to provide opportunities, courage in charity.
Accepting the Restoring Courage Award for Charity, Rami Levy.
year, hundreds of thousands of Americans gathered at the Lincoln Memorial for an event called Restoring Honor. Some of you may have been there. It may have changed you. I know that it changed me. In August of last year, I challenged Americans to live a life of honesty and integrity. This year, I have a new challenge today. I ask you to turn your eyes to Israel and restore courage. I have been asked by the press over and over again, what is it you think you can teach Israel about courage? My answer is simple: nothing. They asked me then, so then why would you come to Israel? Because I say, in Israel, you see courage. In Israel, there is more courage in one small square mile than in all of Europe. Than in the combined and cold hearts of every bureaucrat at the United Nations. Against incredible odds, against the entire tide of global opinion, just because it's right, just because it's good, and just because it's true. Israel is not a perfect country. No country is perfect. But it tries, and it is courageous. Today, the world needs courage more than ever before. We need it because whether you live in Jerusalem or in London or in Athens, Madrid, or Washington, D.C., you know, we all know, the world's changing just a little.